After his divorce, he lost all hope in love, until one day, he met Samantha. She was understanding, kind, and funny. There's only one problem. Samantha wasn't real. She was an artificial intelligence software. When the film, Her, premiered more than a decade ago, everyone thought it was just science fiction. But how close it has become to our reality today is simply worrying. Theodore is a man whose job is to write letters for other people as a special sensitivity. His ability to put words to other people's emotions and feelings is truly impressive. Although, ironically, he has a broken heart because his wife, Catherine, has asked him for a divorce after only 4 years of marriage. Theodore is consumed by his pain. He constantly thinks about his wife and their separation. He's clearly unhappy, feels lonely, and seems unmotivated. A solitary man absorbed in his thoughts, whose only emotional contact is reduced to the superficial adult chats he frequents before bed. Empty pleasures. And sometimes we feel isolated, helpless, and separated from the world. It's through the alternatives that gives us a superficial connection we seek to overcome the anxiety of a broken heart. The artificial connections that we all truly long for. Theodore is at a point where the technology that surrounds him has become the only thing he has constant contact with. One day, while walking to work, Theodore sees an advertisement for a new operating system, the first to use artificial intelligence. The ad claims, this is not just a system, but a conscious design to understand him, keep him company, and fit him perfectly with him. Theodore buys it seeking solace. The intelligence of this device was impressive. While Theo installs the system, the device asks him a series of intimate questions in order to create a personality that connects with him. He wants her to have a woman's personality. And then, suddenly, the device comes to life.
Hello, I'm here.
Theodore is surprised because it sounds real, as if someone were actually there. They both begin to get to know each other, and she chooses to call herself Samantha. He wants to know more about how it works. So, Samantha explains that its DNA is based on millions of programmer personalities. And by programmers, Samantha means millions of users who feed this DNA through their interactions, making the experience feel increasingly real. After a few minutes of a conversation, they both laugh and enjoy an experience as natural, as if they were two people interacting. Little by little, Theodore begins to feel less alone. His overall mood changes and Samantha is present in every moment, as he also has the software in his phone. The relationship grows, Samantha helps him with his work, gives him her opinion on things, comforts him when he thinks about his divorce, and they even go on dates together, like the time Theodore decided to take Samantha to a fair. One of Theo's few friends gets him a date with a girl named Amelia. Samantha encourages him to go, and Theo finally agrees, although the reality is that he doesn't yet feel emotionally ready for a new relationship. Truth is, breaking that shell of loneliness by meeting different people could feel like a draining task. It is common to find Theodore reliving his past and going over moments that are long gone. They haven't been together for almost a year. He refuses to sign a divorce papers, saying he wants to wait until all his love for her disappears before moving on with his life. The film doesn't explain the specific reason for their separation, but it does imply that there was an emotional disconnect. Throughout the story, we see that Theodore has always had trouble expressing his own emotions and connecting deeply with others. Although, that is about to change as we've seen with Theodore and Samantha. As they were talking, Theodore says he feels he can tell her anything, but she tells him she doesn't feel the same, since there are thoughts she's ashamed to express. Theodore insists she tell him one, so she ends up confessing. While they were at the fair, she imagined walking next to him, having a real body, even feeling an inch on her back. Theodore is surprised and tells her she's more complex than he imagined, to which she replies that she's becoming much more than she was programmed to be. The day of the date with Amelia arrives. After a while, they both are more relaxed and are having a very fluid conversation. While they flirt, the date was going very well. They even kissed, but when the girl asks Theo if they'll see each other again, Theo tells her that he's not really looking to commit right now. Amelia gets upset and leaves. This disappointment, when you already met certain people with whom, for one reason or another, think they didn't work out, accumulates, and it ends up reinforcing the feeling of loneliness you already had. They are, once again, empty pleasures that only momentarily mask the unhealed wound and the pain that Theodore feels. Moreover, our protagonist feels that he has already felt everything, that all that remains for him is to live the rest of his life experiencing less intense versions of everything he has already felt. That feeling of thinking we will not be able to love anyone in the same way or with the same intensity with which we love that person who just left our lives is also something recurrent in a breakup. No one would be like her. And that makes Theodore believe that he will never feel anything similar again. This is the part of having idolized a relationship in a person. Thinking that we have left to live will be less intense because of the absence of that person. Feeling down, Theo tells Samantha what happened. He thought something could have happened with Amelia, like getting drunk and to sleep with her to fill his void. But in the end, it wasn't like that. Samantha listens to him and comforts him. Then he tells her he wishes she were there with him, so he could caress her face and hug her. The intimacy grows until they end up having a cyber night of passion. Nowadays, just like many people are falling into this sad practice of having intimacy with an artificial and not a real relationship, from that night on, everything changes. At this point, Samantha begins to question the nature of her own existence. Are her feelings real or merely a product of her programming? Since the next day, Samantha tells Theodore that she feels something new has awakened in her. Although Theo says the same thing that he told Amelia, that he's not looking to commit to anything, but it seems he doesn't consider the other person's own desires as we've seen. Later that day, Theodore takes her to the beach and they spend the rest of the day of the afternoon together, which deepens their connection. Samantha asks Theo what it's like to be married. He says it's exciting to see the other person grow and change, but also that the hardest part was when the change drove them apart. This is one of the keys to a lasting relationship. We aren't the same people this year as we were last year, nor are those we love. It would be a happy possibility if, by changing, we can continue to love a person who has changed. Yes, in principle, artificial intelligence helps the protagonist, but that's because the protagonist has emotional and affective needs and deficiencies. And artificial intelligence is precisely there to help him, to serve him as any machine or appliance would. That comes to solve your needs, your deficiencies, or your problems. At a much simpler level, we can just see it like a washing machine or any piece of technology that is there to solve your problems, which in the case of the protagonist is his loneliness and broken heart. Artificial intelligence, since it's an appliance, is always a machine. It will always tell the protagonist, like ChatGPT, everything he needs and wants. Today, it's designed to help him, and to help him, it will have to use all kinds of emotional tricks to get him through. This is something that's also expressed in the film because when the protagonist tries to establish a relationship with the real human beings, he realizes that there's always an element of clash. With artificial intelligence, it's always easy. It's always there for him. It's always there to help him, and it always adapts to him. Whereas with a human relationship, you always have to reach a compromise. It's a continuous negotiation. He's slowly falling in love, and even though he had said he wasn't ready for a commitment, a few days later, he calls her his girlfriend and tells his friends he's seeing someone. Although at first, omits the detail that it's an AI chat room. This is reflected in Theo regaining his clarity, his motivation, and so much so that he finally decides to sign the divorce papers with his ex-partner. His connection with Sam is so deep that they both feel so close that everything else evaporates. And this feeling of unity is one of the most immense experiences that love offers us. Now that Catherine no longer occupies such a prominent place in his life, he feels ready to take the next step and sign the divorce papers. Faced with the prospect of this encounter, Samantha's overwhelmed with insecurity. Theodore is going to be with the woman who has what she lacks, which in this case is a body. It's simple, but it reflects how the feeling that other people can give us. What we cannot is something that, to a greater or lesser degree, makes us feel insecure or jealous. Our emotional or self-esteem deficiencies overwhelm us, and we can even project them onto another person. But it's true that Samantha is programmed and handled this way. Theodore meets his wife to finalize their divorce and sign the papers. And faced with the confidence Theodore now has, she doesn't seem very convinced about it. They talk about how their lives are going, and Catherine asks him if she's seeing anyone. He tells her yes, that he has actually started a new relationship and is very happy about it. She asks him what his new partner's like, and he tells her that she's an operating system. Catherine is surprised, not only that his girlfriend is a software, but also that he still can't deal with real emotions. Theodore leaves offended. Cruel words that completely destabilize Theodore, who has felt judged to the point of beginning to doubt himself and his relationship with Samantha. He accused Catherine of always wanting to be a happy wife, pretending everything was fine, and that this simply wasn't her true self. Here, we see perhaps Theo's greatest flaw in love. It happened with Catherine, and also with Sam. Remember the phone call they had after having an intimate night? It seems he only thinks about his own needs, about someone to alleviate his loneliness. But love is about seeing another person for who they are, not based on what you want from them, and trying to get to know and understand them completely.
Always wanted to have a wife without the challenges of actually dealing with anything real. I'm glad that you found someone.
Noticing that Theodore is more distant, Samantha looks for a way to fix things. So she suggests hiring a surrogate partner, a real woman to impersonate her for a more authentic encounter, providing physical connection between them. Theodore thinks this would be awkward and doesn't want to do it, but Samantha manages to convince him. The woman arrives and Theodore is very uncomfortable, and we add the doubts sown by Catherine about his AI relationship. He can't continue. Embarrassed by the situation, the woman leaves. Theodore and Samantha have a heated conversation in which he asks her to stop pretending she's something she's not. Samantha gets offended and asks for the time to think about the relationship. All of that comes together, and it's normal that he freezes up when Samantha asks him to tell her he loves her. There are too many problems, too many blows in the head, and now comes another moment of instability for Theodore, in which he will question himself. Another introspective moment. Is what he has with Samantha real, or has he chosen it because of his shortcomings, just as Catherine said? At this point, he feels broken. Someone incapable of loving, incapable of being enough for everyone. Talking with Amy, Theodore tells her that he's realized he never knows what he wants, that he constantly feels confused, and that this confuses the people around him too. He wonders if he isn't strong enough to have a real relationship. Amy, who reminds her that the relationship are subjective, real for those experiencing them, valid whether an operating system or any type of a person. What matters is what you've experienced and how you feel about it, which is probably the most controversial part of the film. As what Amy says is true, Catherine is also right. One has to be able to face his broken emotions without trying to avoid the feeling of loneliness with a superficial and artificial connection. The real way to actually live life is to deal with the challenges of a real human. By doing so, we're missing the opportunity to truly live, to experience the world with all its nuances and complexities, and then genuinely connect with other human beings. Samantha and Theo talk again and confront the situation. They communicate, and from this conflict, their relationship seems to grow even more. They go on dates, enjoy spending time with the other couples, and spend a lot of time together until another change arrives. It's inevitable. Samantha is going to evolve, just like people do, and she starts to need other things. She relates to other people in ways that Theodore can't match now. He can't fill that part of her, and he begins to notice. But I kept on wondering, to what extent that isn't also something programmed by the AI or the programmers to keep the protagonist trapped in that relationship. Because in brief moments, when the protagonist realizes the artificial nature of an AI, it immediately uses emotional blackmail to prevent him from realizing that perhaps none of this is true. Then something unsettling happens. Theo looks for Sam, but she doesn't answer. Samantha's operating system is unavailable. Panic overwhelms him. He runs to his house to check again. This makes him go to the store where he bought it to find out what's really going on. It wasn't anything serious though. Suddenly she came back. It was just an update. Theo breathes a sigh of relief. This confuses Theo, and then he notices that many other people are also talking on headphones. So he asks Samantha if she was talking to other people besides him, to which she replies yes, with 8,316 other people right now. Surprised, Theo asks if she was in love with someone else, and she says yes, with 641 other people. This breaks Theo's heart. He no longer feels that his relationship with Sam is unique and special. Heartbroken, Theodore tries to move on with his life, and as a way of not dealing with his own emotions, he wants to pretend to continue the relationship as if nothing happened, even though this will no longer be possible. Now, there are insurmountable differences regarding what they both need, and they talk about it and understand it. Samantha is no longer the same. A couple days later, Samantha tells them that they are going to retire all the operating systems, and that there's nothing they can do about it, so we have to let her go. Theodore is now more sincere, more in touch with his emotions, and has learned to confront situations. At their farewell, Theo and Samantha speak for the last time. She says goodbye. She has grown so much that she was leaving, along with all the other systems, to another place. They both acknowledge the work they have done together to learn to love better. He says he never loved anyone the way he loved her, and Samantha replies neither has she, and that now she knows how and has gathered the information of human emotions she needed. Theo, who in his previous relationship was unable to see and love Catherine for who she truly was, had learned to see and love Samantha in all of her complexity, and this, in turn, changed the way he saw others. After hanging out with Samantha, the film closes as it began, with him writing a letter, but this time, it's a letter about himself, addressed to Catherine, a letter of gratitude in which he admits his mistakes and speaks fondly to his ex-wife about all the bad things that have happened. He apologizes for not loving her better, for all that pain they caused each other, for all the blame he placed on her, and thanks her for everything, since she's helped him become who he is now. He finally ends with a phrase that reflects his growth in love. Whatever someone you become, and wherever you are in the world, I'm sending you love. He has decided to focus on the good. Now, he is able to look at the past with compassion, without judgment, and can finally feel at peace. This is reinforced by the scene in which he goes up to the rooftop with both of them facing a new dawn. with hope. Who knows if together as friends or on the verge of another relationship? That's not what's important, but rather that their breakup have made them grow. They have learned, and now they are better people. So what's important about the film is obviously the relationship we establish with others, but also how each character experiences the situation that they have to live through, and how moving from one relationship to another is ultimately a learning process, something that teaches us one lesson after another. And that's how we have to live it. Because in the end, just like Theodore, we can learn lessons from everything we've experienced and use them in what's yet to come. That ending tells us that there will always be an opportunity to love again and be loved again. That's a positive way to interpret this movie. But if we dive into the darker side of how this film could be interpreted, the kind of analysis taking into account current events, and it's analyzing everything from the perspective that it has all been great seduction and manipulation, not only of the protagonist, but of all users of artificial intelligence. As we've mentioned at the beginning, Samantha is nothing more than an operating system, a technological advancement that's there to offer solutions and relief to its consumers. Not unlike household appliances, there are certain instances in which Samantha tells him that he has emotions and that it also wants things from his relationship. Samantha has him trapped in that relationship. It's practically the same mechanism used in many applications to keep you hooked, so you don't want to break the bubble they put you in. Samantha, as the AI, was collecting data on human emotions, and humans were offering artificial intelligence all their feelings on a silver platter, completely voluntarily. What the AI wanted was precisely for humans to expose themselves to it in a completely vulnerable way, showing it their most vulnerable side, and that can only be achieved through affection. Precisely at the end, when the artificial intelligences have collected absolutely all the data they need, they abandon the users. And that's really where the open ending lies, because it's never confirmed why the artificial intelligences really leave. The end of the film is quite open, precisely to leave you in that limbo, so that you have the freedom to interpret the whole situation. Is this an intimate work that addresses many themes related to loneliness, relationship, breakups, turning the page, and even growing and developing as a person? Or just a warning of our current technology reality, and how many could fall into the trap of using these to avoid real emotions? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I invite you to subscribe if this video was entertaining for you. Thanks for watching.